Hello and welcome back to Futbol Mundial. We're back, baby, where we take a look at some interesting and wacky stories from across the globe.
Wacky, Jesus Christ. Yes, and this week we've got a former Arsenal striker who's turned into a tribal chief. Unbelievable fan loyalty in Japan, and also a surprising potential move for Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang.
Another one. First things first though, we're heading to the West Indies, where the world-renowned Caribbean Cup, world-renowned according to the script only, finished a couple of days ago.
Yeah, a competition made up of just 4 teams. Jamaica went into it as favourites, winning the cup 5 more times than the rest of the nations combined.
Kiss the lucky egg, man. The Reggae Boys, yes, that's their actual nickname, struggled in the semi-final against French Guyana, beating them on penalties while Curaçao scraped through past Martinique 2-1.
Yeah, Martinique and French Guiana aren't even FIFA members, so the results weren't too surprising. But the final was to be a close encounter, as Jamaica and Curaçao were only separated by 7 FIFA ranking places. Clash of the Titans.
Intense. Now, Villa and Southampton fans may have been interested as Leonardo Bacuna and Cuco Martina started for Curaçao. Bacuna, Martina,
Don't ever say it.
no. And their nation, by the way, was victorious as an 84th minute winner from Elson Hui, his second of the game, saw them lift the cup for the first time.
Yeah, Paddy Cliver got them qualified for the tournament, whilst Remco Vicentini finished the job. So congrats to the Curaçao Massive.
Now, you may have heard a couple of weeks ago of Mexican side Venados FC signing the world famous Andres Iniesta, but Eintracht Frankfurt have gone one further, Pato.
Yeah, the German side have given, get ready for this one, Nelson Mandela his first professional contract. Big news for him.
Unsurprisingly, it wasn't the former South African president, but an 18-year-old striker from Cameroon. The youngster spent a year at Hoffenheim's academy, but came through Barca's La Masia, leaving when he was 13.
Mandela was a standout for Frankfurt's youth team last season, bagging 8 goals in 14 games for the Adler, and finally got his work permit in Germany. Niko Kovacs will be hoping that he's as good of a striker as his namesake was a president.
But, as Madiba once said, Pato, the brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. Maybe the youngster should heed those words when he races through on goal. Yeah, we just got deep.
The headline story now, and what do you know, it involves a star of the European game going to China. Who would have thought it?
Yes, and it concerns Borussia Dortmund superstar Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who is tantalisingly close to joining PSG this summer, but could be tempted by a ridiculous amount of Chinese currency, Pat.
Sport Build claimed that Tianjin Quanjin have slapped 80 million euros and their balls on the table and are willing to give the Gabon captain 30 million euros a year. That's roughly 575k a week.
Heiko Ostendorp is the man reporting the story, and he's normally pretty reliable concerning all things Dortmund. He was actually the first to break the news of Ousmane Dembele and Mahmoud Dahoud to the BVB.
It would be a shame to see one of Europe's finest goal scorers depart to China when he's still in his prime, especially given that he promised his granddad he'd play for Real Madrid one day. But at 28, time is running out for Oba to get his one final payday, and where better to find it than the Far East.
Staying in Asia, we head to Japan, where one dedicated fan got a round of applause from his favourite team.
The Minnows SRC Hiroshima came up against Nagoya Grampus in the second round of the Emperor's Cup, one of their biggest games of the season, and they were royally humbled by Grampus.
I love this story. Nagoya and Gary Lineker of Arsene Wenger fame have gone through some tough times themselves recently, getting relegated to the J2 League last season, and they're currently 5th in the division. But they cruised past Hiroshima 6-0 at home, but it wasn't the scorelines that grabbed everyone's attention, Pat.
No, there was one Hiroshima superfan who travelled over 480 kilometres to Nagoya just to watch his side get battered. The saving grace though, the Hiroshima players went over to the fan, who was literally on his own in the away end, and gave him a hero's reception.
What a bloke, rate that lone wolf. But what's the furthest you guys have travelled to watch your beloved team play? Oh, excellent segue into the next part. Let us know in the comments below.
Now, when you think of the best Greek football sides, you immediately think of 3 names: Olympiakos, Panathinaikos and AEK Athens. But sadly, one of these clubs seems to be on the verge of collapse.
Yes, unfortunately that side is Panathinaikos, a club that's won 20 league titles, with their last coming in 2010. And don't forget, they also made an impression in Europe, reaching 2 semi-finals in the European Cup/Champions League.
It seems as if the club is simply disintegrating before our eyes. Italian manager Stramaccioni overspent on some terrible acquisitions such as Ledesma and Essien, while some of the better players are in dispute over owed wages. They might leave for free. Bad times.
Not good. The likes of Marcus Berg, who scored 22 in 28 last season, Rodrigo Meledo and Nicholas Hult are all leaving for a pittance, whilst the owner of the club, Giannis Alfouzos, has restricted their budget for next season and is refusing to invest as he already saved the club from bankruptcy in 2012. That was a direct quote.
Sounds like a complete mess, doesn't it? But the misery just keeps coming, as their new manager, the young Marinos Uzunidis, also seems set to resign because of the chaos.
So the club could basically be broke, have hardly any first team players left, and without a manager before the start of the next campaign. What a terrible situation to be in, Pato.
Yeah, they could be without fans too, though, as there's planned stadium protests with the Panathinaikos faithful turning to their side's basketball team. If there are any Panathinaikos fans out there, please keep us updated with the club's situation.
Finally, we make our way over to Africa, where a striker who nearly reached a century of Premier League goals has become a tribal chief in his homeland.
Yeah, it could only be one man, couldn't it? The man who measured a dwarf, who was named Paco Rabanne. It's Emmanuel Adebayor, who's been installed as a chief in Kpalime.
The reason he's been bestowed with such a privilege, Pato, well, it's thanks to the humanitarian work the striker has done in Togo, where he's committed to financially supporting 90 children in a nationwide tour of his country.
Yeah, Adebayor's picked up a bad rep over the years, and kind of deservedly, but it's always nice to see a footballer not forgetting their roots and helping the communities they grew up in. Good on you, Emmanuel.
So that was this week's Futbol Mundial, guys. Have we missed any worldly news? Let us know in the comments below and we'll endeavour to include it next time. Pato, what should the fine people do?
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to stay right here on Euro Football Daily and check out more of the great 10s that we have for you, including yesterday's The Most Violent Fans in Football. It's an absolute cracker.
And don't forget to like and subscribe.
The usual.